Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave Sports and Entertainment original presented by Prize Picks. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. Also, be sure to check out the Right Time YouTube channel. Lots of YouTube exclusive content, including updates to our concert diary series. Me checking out Sturgill Simpson at Forest Hills. That will be going up soon. Be sure to go to the channel and check it out. Anyway, this is the time of week where we have a guest join us. Coming to you live from like 3 blocks from here. Check out on MSG and ESPN. Monica McNutt, what's going on?
What's up, Bo? Thanks for having me. It's always good to come join you guys here on the right time. There's been a bunch of pod requests lately, but like you're my guys. Like I got time to do that one right now. Let's do it.
I appreciate that. Because I told Sean, I was like, look, man, we got to start booking Monica with some time out. Like, I understand you got a lot of different directions that you got to go in. Like, we can't just really hit Monica Monday on the Wednesday. We got to get on your calendar and hope the NBA is cracking that week.
So true. It's so true. Timing is very important. But I felt like, again, I'm happy to talk W with you. I'm happy to talk NBA with you. Like it's a good influx of things to talk about today. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, I think the other thing that's happening too, that, not to act like the jobs that we work are the hardest jobs in the world, boy, but that offseason done got shorter and shorter every single year. Like, this is kind of like I remember once when I was growing up, we started going to school on September 1st, and one year we went on August 9th.
I mean, what is an off season? Particularly for me, right? Like this
Right.
year, shout out to the Olympic break, and I'm a big believer in that sometimes you just got to make these jobs stop because you do have a personal life. And so, big off season, summer wise, in terms of getting married and celebrating around all that. But you're right. Like next year, I already have been like, ooh, there's no Olympic break. So when am I taking my vacation?
Oh, you actually, let me tell you something. I don't need a heavy load to come up with that one. I have already blocked off time for a March vacation. I blocked
I
that
know
off
that's
a
right.
month ago.
I know that's right.
Hey, yeah, look, man, that's the easiest thing in the world to be like, nah, I just ain't coming. See, with me, and what I do is, I guess it's not terribly different than you, is that I know when it ain't really cracking at work. And so I do my best to work my vacation around when it's not cracking. I'm not going to take a vacation in the middle of October, for example. Like this month,
So
especially now that the W is a big mainstream sort of thing, World Series, WNBA Finals, NFL season, start of the NBA season. This is now actually like the most jam-packed time of the year.
And I will be honest with you, I still found 2 days this month because I was like, look, we're going straight from finals right into NBA. I just think as much as we love our jobs, and if we could have a moment of like serious input, feedback that I would give young people coming behind you, you do have to make it a point to take care of yourself. Because these jobs, as cool as they are, will let you work 8 days out of the week, 385 if you want. And what do you leave for yourself? And so I'm with you. Like there's a couple of pockets every 3 months. It might not be traveling abroad, but it's a few days where I get a chance to step off because in the same way that athletes have to train their bodies and that includes rest, so it is with our minds and our creative being. So all jokes aside, I'm gonna find the time off. Don't worry.
Yeah, also for you, because I think it's easy for people to forget if they know you from one place about the other, right? Like doing the MSG gig while also doing the ESPN gig. Like those are
Mm-hmm.
two real gigs to do at one time, and you got to do the MSG gig on Tuesday night when the Knicks went up to Boston. And look, I need to read this for people because you were there, so I need you to help me help me with how I make sense of the fact that the Knicks shot 55% from the floor and 36% from three, and they got beat by 24, but that is not an accurate representation of what happened. They got beat way worse than the 24 would have you believe. The Celtics spent a whole quarter trying to make a three to break the all-time record and just couldn't. Otherwise, the Knicks got beat by like 40 points in reality.
Okay. It, I think first basket of the game, Jason Tatum, right side of the floor, 3 ball. I can't remember who was defending him. I think it might have been a switch early out for Cat. I'm not
It
sure.
was a switch, and a certain gentleman went deep on the drop, if I am not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah. So for the first shot, I was like, okay, cool. Like he just got a brand new ring, and I'm not gonna hold you. Yes, I was there as a part of the Knicks broadcast, but the ring ceremony and the way that they went back in the archives of the history of how this team was put together was really well done. Top sheer energy. incredible vibe, something really special to be a part of. So of course, there's all of this palpable energy in the arena. First three, wet. I think they missed 1 3 in the first quarter. Like, it's like, surely this is not going to continue. Surely this is not going to continue, and the Knicks are going to settle down. Oh no, it continued for 3 quarters. At the end of 3, they were shooting 57% from 3. And so the simple formula on this one, 3 is more than 2. And you were looking at a team that returned 93% of its scoring and high-performing athletes versus a new team, essentially, with 2 new starters. And the chemistry that already existed and was well-established compared to the chemistry that was being built could not have been more in stark contrast. And it's New York window season, so shout out to the Sirens.
I'm just wondering if it's gonna go past your house and come by mine. Like it's gonna like I feel like as the Sirens come up, it's gonna be like the wave. Like, okay, it's over there in that part of the stadium, but don't you worry, it's gonna make its way over to where you are. But I was watching that game, and I watched the game in spite of the fact that they put Shabuzi on TV before the game. That ain't make me want to watch no basketball. And I'm just going to have my moment here, whether people like it or not. It's bad enough that Tipsy was a thing one time. You going to tell me it's come around? I got to go through this shit twice? Twice? I didn't like going through it the first time. I got to go through it again, except country?
It's a first for some people. Don't be the old guy. Like, we're in this new cultural black people can do country and like everything works.
I didn't like it when I was a young guy is what I'm saying. Okay?
But I'm saying it's not for you.
All I'm saying is if it was somebody that you did, it's like one thing when you go to your high school reunion and you see somebody you didn't rock with before. And for most of those people, it's like, it's whatever, it was 20 years ago. But you see one of them and you're like, nope, to this day, don't need to speak, don't need to be whatever. That's how I feel about Tipsy. I can't believe that Jaquan going to get rich twice off of something that wasn't dope once.
It had a little bit of a moment. You just didn't like it. Okay. All right. Fair.
That's what I'm saying on my end. That's right. I have learned not to get bothered by the mediocre taste of the masses. Okay. Like I've come to get that every now and then the streets is going to be whack and they enjoy, like you got to let it happen on occasion. Like I went to that Stevie Wonder concert. His biggest hit is I Just Called to Say I Love You. That means he got to sing it at the concert. And every now and then the streets is whack, like that's.
You didn't enjoy the concert? Is that what you're telling me?
I enjoyed the concert when he wasn't singing I Just Called to Say I Love You.
Okay.
That's just all I'm saying. Sometimes the streets is wrong. I'm generally of the belief the audience is never wrong, right? If the audience says something, then that's just what it is, except when it's whack. When it's whack, I go into a different set of axioms.
What I appreciate about you is very matter-of-factly. That's cool that y'all like it, but it's whack. And so, all right, carry on.
Have your fun. Hey, man, the right set of girls start dancing to it. I'll be out there, give me a dope shot of whiskey, right? Like if there's some benefit to it for me. Like, I remember when that My Neck, My Back song came out. I did not like that song when it came out. It was terribly whack. I went to a party one time and I saw the work that it did, and I was like, suddenly this is a jam. I love that song now. It serves a different purpose. That Shabuzi song might serve the same purpose, just probably at a place that I'm not going to go.
I was about to say, big time college football, your flavor of the month this fall, maybe?
Yeah, I bet that is the official. That's the official song of the official visit. I bet you're 100% correct. Everybody going on an official visit, they hear that at whatever spot y'all go to.
Not an HBCU official visit though, but yes.
No. More in the he got game category, like just in a different part of the country. Like that's it's all gonna go. But I say this about the Knicks and the Celtics. One, the Celtics. I did not realize it until they kept saying it during the game that Porzingis only played 25 games last year, which is to say that team that was statistically one of the greatest teams of all time was doing that with its most talented player, not necessarily best, but I think their most talented player, only playing 25 games through the course of the year. And they just keep doing this. I don't like standing around and shoot threes all the time basketball. However, I don't know what the Knicks were supposed to do. I could not come up with any assessment of the Knicks based on that game because I don't think it would have mattered if the Knicks had 6 people on the floor.
I agree with you. And I think so. Here's my one thing, though, because you're now the second person in media that I've heard say, I don't like all that standing around threes. Even when they making them, because they was cash.
Don't like it.
It was beautiful.
Don't like it.
Really?
Don't like it.
Okay.
I mean, I like the ball movement, I guess, is cool, but I think there are changes that need to be made to the game. I like watching guys attack the basket. I like seeing dudes go to the rack. I enjoy a good mid-range game. I understand why teams don't do it because of the math, right? So I feel like there's some changes that need to be made. But, I mean, nah, man, I don't know, to answer your question. That's not my bag.
If I'm ever going to watch a team stand around and shoot threes, it would be the Celtics. Because if you unpack the threes that they got, no, they weren't attacking the rim per se. But there was a primary pick and roll in the paint, creating major scramble and chaos for the Knicks. The ball was moving. At one point in the game, I think they had hit 21 threes that had 24 assists. It was some wonky, crazy math stat. So there was a lot to enjoy, I think, in terms of team basketball, besides the fact that nobody was getting to the paint. But whatever, go ahead.
Yeah, I see that. I'd rather watch Jaylen Brown dunk on people. That's me.
That's spectacular, too.
I'm in that space. Now, let me ask you this about the Knicks and watching it. Number one, what is the concern for whatever happened to Mikal Bridges' jump shot? I can't tell if it's just aesthetic or if it's going to have an actual effect on how many of those shots he makes, but all of a sudden it looks like something changed.
Yeah, I've been watching that too. I don't remember his above-the-shoulder form being quite that extended. But what I will say, if you're going to tinker with your shot, you got to stick with it, right? And so if that's what he's going to do this season, fine. To me, it actually looked like he needed to get more lift from his lower body, and he started to do that in the second half. I think he'll figure it out in terms of his follow-through and stuff. It looks a little funky to me, but again, like, now's the time. Make up your mind. Is this what you're rolling with for the season or not? Because to keep tinkering with it over the course of a season is a really tough formula. You don't make an adjustment like that game to game at all. So we're going to have to roll with it. I think he's only going to build confidence in it the more he sticks with it and sees success. In the second half, he actually shot the ball decently, right? But I think that's like fourth maybe on my list of things to address for the Knicks right now.
If you were Tom Thibodeau, how worried would you be about the fact that your new addition is 7 feet tall and allows Drew Holiday to guard him?
Well, I think there were a couple plays, actually, I thought Cat played big and did take advantage of his size. He had a Patrick Ewing-esque cross-the-lane hook shot situation last night, which was cool. Here's my thing. This was game one, bro. Like, it was game one. Cat got traded right before training camp. Mikal's still figuring it out. I often, and I thought about this last night because I have said this at large, I struggle to believe in year one with big-time adjustments anyway, but particularly game one, right? There's not been an established, this is how you are most effective in this system. The bigger thing to me, outside of the offense, is that Cat is not the same sort of rim protector that Isaiah Hartenstein or Mitchell Robinson was. As much as you might have griped about those guys offensively, they were going to anchor that defense in a way that now this defense looks very different to me. And so you go from a 5-out team in Boston to a similar 5-out team in Indiana on Friday. These two tests stand the opportunity to really expose you early on. But again, it's games one and game two. And we asked pregame, and Coach Tibbs was like, look, everything is being evaluated. What did we do well? What have we not done well? And yes, hopefully a team don't shoot 47% and hit 29 threes through the course of a regular season. But there was a lot. It's crazy. But there was a lot for the Knicks to like learn from that game.
It was because, again, whatever their final percentage is, in fact, let me look this up to make sure I got it right. The Celtics finished the game at 48% from three. That's after they missed 13 straight. They were really 29 for 48.
I was going to say, through three quarters, they were closer to 60. It was unreal. Like, I'm texting, my terrific radio partner, Tyler Murray, it's obviously a point of emphasis. It was my first key to the game, defending the 3-point line. At halftime, you're like, sure, they're not going to do this again. My husband literally was like, I bet you they won't do this again. I'm like, okay. And they did. Like, I think, too, what stood out to me, championship hangover, not at all. And I think the same thing that Joe Mazzulla kind of got crushed for at points in the previous 2 seasons, sort of being incessant and fine-tuned and like hyper-vigilant, right? Is perfect for a team stepping into a season looking to defend their crown. The last thing Jason Tatum said before we went to the game at the end of the banner ceremony was, "Let's do it again." And I think that team is very serious and very poised to potentially do it again.
I'm trying to figure out who is it that's supposed to beat them.
Yeah,
that's my question. I don't have it. The closest thing I got to an answer for that is the Thunder coming out of the West, just because they have and they might be good forever. They got players and they got picks. Like they are terrifying. But I love Denver, but is Jamal Murray on the downhill, and what kind of physical performance can you get out of Michael Porter? Like, I think these are things that we learned last year. These are the questions we're going to have about them. But in the East, everybody made their moves. The Knicks went and got Carl. Philadelphia went and got Paul George. I mean, Milwaukee made their moves last year, but they still made their move to go get Dame. And I don't feel like anybody's in the same zone as them right now.
We got to play the games. That's the beauty of sport. But I think that's fair right now. Like, they are in a class of their own.
Shooting all those threes. And they mad.
Crazy.
Like, everybody would have disrespected them. I get tired of people saying they've been disrespected, except for Derek White. Derek White can't say nobody disrespected him. But the other two boys, they got legitimate beef.
But like, I look at Tyler at one point and I'm like, yo, like, this is unreal. Because there's a couple things that blow your mind in that game, right? It's like, Knicks hang their hat on defense. They were top 10 in defensive and offensive efficiency. Mind you, Boston was top 4 in defensive and offensive efficiency last season. Like, you have this in your head about who the Knicks are. You talk to them in advance of the game and they're saying all the right things. Like, you have these stats. And even if you look at it, I think OG Anunoby still managed to defend Jason Tatum the best in the 3 times that he was his primary defender. But like, you have these pieces that are defenders, and then it's just like a pure offensive clinic. And the Knicks actually shot better than 50% from 2. Like, it was so like mind-numbing. And so then you get to the fourth quarter and you're like, okay, well, the Knicks get to see what the reinforcements look like, because that's what it becomes.
No, this is going to be something, right? Like, I mentioned the thing with Carl and being guarded by Jrue Holiday, just because you've been working in this city long enough. You know what the people here like, and they don't like stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. 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 You got to flush that one. You just got to flush that one.
Yeah. That just happened. Yeah, like that game is just like 1 of 82, right? You go, you say that, and you keep it moving, certainly. I just want to see, like, with the changes they made, because those are chemical changes. Those aren't just physical changes. They didn't just switch out people. Right. You switch out the whole dynamic. Right. And what they had last year was a great dynamic. I was looking at that lineup, and at times I'm looking at Josh Hart, and I'm like, actually, homie, it's time for you to fall back again. Like you did, thank you for your service last year, but for this team to be what it is, he's got to be like option 4.
I hear you on that. I don't know what to take from last night, because to be honest, he was one of the few guys that started to get straight to the rim, right, for the Knicks when they were at least keeping pace a little bit. And do you need that level of aggression? Because he's going to have to keep defenses honest, right? And backside of the season, he was shooting a 3 decently, actually pretty well during the playoff stretch. There was a lot. There's a lot to dissect. I'm not going to watch that again, I'll be honest, but there was a lot.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, in the East, I mentioned Philadelphia. What do you think about Joel Embiid saying that he's not going to play back-to-backs?
I honestly don't hate it, because we got to stop acting like this is not a business and teams are not built to go after championships. The dude has already picked up every regular season award that matters, and Philly gets crushed in the postseason. So I think that takes, now this is where I think it gets interesting behind the scenes. It takes a very mature team to grasp that. And as much as, we want to say we're dealing with adult men, like, I want to say age ain't nothing but a number, but I know that's kind of canceled. But you get what I'm saying. I think maturity is not something that is just automatically to be assumed. But I actually don't hate it. Like, that's where we are. And I get it. Like, Chuck, Shaq, those guys, I get where they're coming from. But to also act like y'all also are not going to sit on our various sets and crush him because he's not been able to get it done in the postseason, like, which one you want? Like, now he's trying to focus on the postseason. You going to kill him for that?
I guess my question is how many games they can win without him playing, because I don't know if they can afford to just punt on regular season games, right? Like,
In the East,
I do think the seeding matters in the end.
I think you leave room for, like, maybe I will play on back-to-back games as things go down the stretch. But I think to set that intention early, I actually don't hate it as a strategy, so there's less guesswork, right? If they manage to hold comfortably in that top 4 range in the East, which I don't know that they will. I don't think Indiana was a fluke. I think Cleveland will mix things up in the East. Milwaukee's going to be back. I think the Knicks are going to be much better than last night. I don't know what comfortably holding in that top 4 is and how realistic that is, but I do think to get everybody on the same page early in the season, I can't knock that.
Yeah, I do wonder, though, like, if it would not have been, I guess, at some point in the year to start doing a little more of that, like, especially as you start getting toward the playoffs, to get kind of acclimated to the workload of it, I suppose, getting more reps with the guys that you play with, like, at least from this comfortable distance, those things seem to be important. And I'm also of the belief, if he can't handle playing back-to-backs during the regular season, he ain't going to be able to make it through the playoffs either.
Now, that was definitely one of my thoughts, because I'm like, does that set you up right for the postseason? But he has not tried this blatantly yet, and the postseason results are not there. So at this point, I get the urgency, because how much longer do you think we have this window of Joel Embiid playing his best basketball? Like, I get the urgency.
Let me tell you something. I was talking to somebody today about Anthony Davis, and every now and then I pop up and you're like, oh, it's year blank for somebody. For example, it's year 13 for Anthony Davis. Mm-hmm. This is year 11 for Embiid. It doesn't feel like year 11 because the first 3 were basically scrapped because of injury, but it's 11 years since he came into the league. I was looking at it, what's his name? Julius Randle. It's year 11 for Julius Randle. It's a lot of dudes that where you stop and you look at it. Paul George, year 15.
Yep. Yeah. It's true. I remember Vinny had this conversation a season ago going into a preseason pod, and I remember him counting it up. He was talking about Giannis and, like, the mileage on these guys' bodies. I think when we think of mileage, people think of the Warriors because they played so deep for so many consecutive years. But, like, this is why the changing of the guard conversation is so real. And yes, Bron, 20 plus years, like, we're seeing guys do it at a high level for much longer, but there's a conversation around guys that have been really fortunate health-wise and guys that have battled injuries and are still trying to do it for a long time. I don't think you ain't got 4 more years of Joel Embiid being the most dominant force in the league. So I get the urgency.
Now, I think the urgency is actually greater than people give it credit for, in the sense that I think we've already seen the best of him. That the Joel Embiid that we saw MVP year and right around that, I don't think we'll ever see him play at that level again. That's no shade to him. It's just a body of that size that has never demonstrated itself to be particularly durable in the first place, who, when he doesn't play, gets out of shape really fast. So he's always feels like a lot of the time it just feels like he's carrying extra weight. No, if they're going to get it done, this is the year, because you definitely can't expect that you're going to get the best of Paul George for another 3 years. Because, again, year 15.
Yep, and you sprinkle into that equation, like, he's not a guy that's dealt with, like, shoulder, wrist injuries. Like, these are wheels injuries, feet and knees, like, and he's a huge being. I get it. I get it. And I did think it was a little curious when Shaq was like, you're not double teamed or triple teamed. I'm like, actually,
no, that's just hateration. That Joel Embiid is not double and triple teamed. What are you talking about, right? He's double and triple teamed if for no other reason that he's not great at passing out of it. No, he sees plenty of people around him, and in the regular season, you can't do nothing with it. It's in the postseason where he's just kind of like a little bit confounded.
Yeah. I listen, and I don't know what this looks like. Obviously, he's not going to be in contention for postseason awards if he, misses with the number 65, right? Like, on the one hand, you have a heart for fans, right? You want to see your favorites play. But 2, like, what do you want? And I think I would ask anybody that takes a big issue with this, like, what do you want? And what do you understand of the business of the NBA and the goals in the NBA? Do you want this man available in the postseason or not? Like, and there's no guarantee that this is necessarily it. And culturally, this probably wouldn't be a decision in some other organizations. But these windows are so small. And if anybody's window is growing, which is doing the Benjamin Button thing, it would be Boston because, as you mentioned, Kristaps Porzingis played less than 30 games last year, and he's only going to get healthier. And those guys, while they've been in the league for a long time, are still under
30. It's terrifying. It's terrifying.
Oh my God.
But we're going to come back with more with Monica McNutt after this. The NFL is back in full swing, which means you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite teams only on Prize Picks. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. But rather than hearing it from me, let's hear from somebody who uses Prize Picks. Sean, how the picks been coming?
Bo, the picks have been picking. You can obviously hear my picks at the end of each episode, but, with Prize Picks, you can also play along with celebrities like Drewski, Joe Budden, and MMA champ Sean O'Malley, and you can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries of some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. And look, if you'd rather just hear from the picks that I do at the end of the show, that's fine too.
There we go. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sean, although October is the season for wearing masks and costumes, some of us feel like we wear a mask at work, social settings, and even around our family. Have you ever felt like you couldn't be your full self, like you were hiding behind a mask?
For me, Bo, I try to be myself in all settings and with everyone I encounter. But look, I know it's certainly easy to get caught up in portraying yourself in a specific way or putting on a mask, whether it's to impress someone at work or make a good first impression. But I feel like it's always best to show the real you.
That's right. And therapy can help you to accept all parts of yourself so that you can take off the mask. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit BetterHelp.com/Bomani today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Bomani. Peloton is more challenging than people think. If you've been watching the show, I put on some muscle, and it's literally all thanks to Peloton. Peloton got your boy in the gym, and it's been one of the best things I've added to my weekly schedule. There's so many challenging programs to choose from, and Peloton even helps the top athletes get ready. Their custom strength workouts for the gym keep you on track to push your limits every time. Peloton is also a place to keep the spirit of competition alive. You can track the leaderboards to see who can get the largest output. Peloton classes and instructors like Alex Toussaint are designed to help focus on your needs and goals. Whether you prefer to run outdoors, row, or ride at home, or strength train at the gym, Peloton has something for you. I genuinely use Peloton, and I'm actually getting the results I want thanks to their great programs. So if you want to join Peloton, head over to onepeloton.com and get started on your fitness journey. Find your push, find your power with Peloton at onepeloton.com. All right, we got Monica McNutt. I did not tell you this question was coming. It's not that hard a question all the same, though. But are you as excited as I am for what Big Vic in San Antonio may turn out to be this year?
Golly. I haven't really thought, oh my gosh, bro, I haven't really thought about that. Yes, there's a level of enthusiasm there, right? Again, we just talked about windows, right? Like, is it going to translate? They were so bad last year.
Yes.
The Spurs play the Knicks on Christmas Day. That'll be fun. I think it'll be a lot of fun leading up into that. I actually, people don't question me, I'm a big Devin Vassell girl. Like, shout out to Devin, followed his career. I want them to figure it out and be serious, because I felt like there were so many times last year that San Antonio was just unserious.
That was what got me. I'm like, Pop, what are you doing? These dudes don't look serious at all. Cisco running point. He ain't no point guard. All these other dudes, like, they seem to be a whole team of dudes that didn't understand what seemed to me to be the most obvious thing in the world. They would have been better off in some cases with me out there. Not because I was better at basketball than them, but because I'm so bad at basketball that all I'm going to try to do is throw the ball to the dude that's 8 feet tall. That's what I'm trying to do every single time. He's 8 feet tall. I would see him run into the basket, obvious oops, and it's Cisco or one of these other guys I've only heard of. Why aren't you passing the ball to the dude that's 8 feet tall? I bet with Chris Paul out there, they'll be passing the ball to the dude that's 8 feet tall.
Yeah, the Chris Paul is an important piece. But again, like we just talked about years in the league, like, what does that actually look like in terms of his contribution, time on the floor? If they somehow, because the West is as jumbled as ever, are pushing to be in the play-in, playoffs, like availability, I just want it to become serious. And I think last year, to be fair, rookie season, like the spectacle of it all, your teammates got to learn how to play with you. Pop said it, though, when I was in San Antonio when they played OKC last year. His whole thing is like, this dude is just scratching the surface, which makes it like, again, we talked about mind-blowing outings last night. Like, it's like, what? What else is there, right? Like, and Pop's thing was like, once he really gets it, when the game slows down, as we often hear in sports, like, physically already unstoppable. So I can only imagine when you put the two together in earnest.
Also, we talk about, like, the Olympic disrespect that Tatum and Brown suffered, right? Jaylen Brown for not being on the team and Jason Tatum for being in a uniform, but also not really being on the team, right? I think we don't talk enough about what Victor got in that was Victor got to go to the gold medal game in the home country and to get that taste and that look truly of what he was up against, right? Like, seeing it's one thing to play against a couple of these dudes in one game, one of them another night, then the next night is none of those cats out there. It's another thing to play 1 through 12 against Team USA, and you had a chance and did not come up big down the stretch. You did not, right? He saw what it was. The motivation, not just the exposure you can get from that theoretically and the motivation that you can get from that theoretically. Also, having had a season of NBA basketball under your belt, you're 25 pounds heavier than you were when you got to the league. And I still laugh at watching NBA players last year think they got a layup, and then they realize Big Vic is coming, and they look like I did when I was playing against my brother who's 13 years older than me, and you just terrified to put up the shot. Like, you got to dribble that back out and then give it to your homie, and he ain't even putting he can stop a whole 3-on-1 break all by himself.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's a sight to behold. The Olympics experience call out, though, is really a good point. And I think you combine that with, as we watched preparing for the draft, I mean, this kid has been, not just Victor himself, but his entire family is in on his professional career, the routine, the foot workouts, the reading before bed, the sleep, the consuming basketball at a high level, the competitive drive. Like, he seems like a perfect storm. And we all are very fortunate to sit back and have the opportunity to watch.
Like, I think the surest bet, if you were to, like, I don't be giving people no gambling advice. There seems no surer bet in the world to me than Victor Wembanyama, Defensive Player of the Year. No, he is going to put up a series of numbers that I think are going to make it impossible. Because, look, this isn't like when I was growing up and you could get 4.5 blocks a game out of somebody, right? The game just isn't played that way. He can, right? Like, he can put up jaw-dropping defensive numbers.
For sure. And I'm just thinking of blocks, right? Like, I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, blocking folks in the paint. But no, reaching that whatever 8-foot wingspan out, getting blocks on the perimeter, like impacting the game all over the floor just by being available. And as that traditionally, like when I tell you we first start playing defense, like just get your arms up, literally.
Like, why does he even jump?
Well,
like, Jokic.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, like, I love those guys. Like, there's different players like Jokic, Robert Parrish, dudes that figured out how to whittle down all that unnecessary movement, right? Like there's no need for me to move. Like, after I've beaten you with this pump fake, why am I in such a hurry? You're already back there, right? Robert Parrish is like, I don't need to do any of this extra stuff. I feel like that's going to be Vic with a lot of the jumping. Like, I could jump, but like, look what happens when I just go like this.
I mean, he was a rookie. I keep wanting to go freshman, but he was a rookie. Like, as the game slows down, I think my magic number for pros usually is 3. And every now and again, you run up on a pro that, like, probably maybe not 3, right? Victor could be a year 2. So much of it, though, is going to be about how serious they are around him. And I think that is the only thing that I'm like, we'll see.
Yeah. By the way, have you seen any of Reed Shepherd in the preseason yet?
Mm-mm.
He's good.
Is he? Okay. I remember
like
he's really good. No,
yeah,
I have not. Listen, I was watching all W finals. I didn't do a ton of preseason outside of mentoring Knicks watching.
No, it's just gonna be fun. He's like he's not small for his position, but he got the whitest name ever, and he is definitely a white dude. But he shot 50% from 3 last year in college.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about this yesterday. What's today? Wednesday? So Monday night, I had a chance to work with Nike on the announcement of the Nike partnership between the WNBA, NBA, and the G League for the next 12 years. But Sue Bird made this really great point, and we had a chance to follow up with some of the other signature athletes, talking about being a star in your role, right? And how, like, coming up in sport, you're not necessarily taught that. And then by the time you get to a professional level, there's 12 All-Stars, 11 spots on the Olympic team. Like, there's like that class of guys, and then everybody else to a degree is a star in their role. Reed Shepherd, Dalton Knick, like, if y'all could come in and be stars in your roles as rookies and grasp that, like, there's always a spot on the floor for a shooter.
Well, and the Rockets, I mean, look, they went 500 last year. They're one of those teams, I'll be honest, man, once you get to a certain level of being sorry, I could go years without watching you. I can't tell you how many years I went without watching the Sacramento Kings. The Rockets got into that place where they were so sorry and just had all those young dudes, and they clearly weren't trying to win. They're a legitimate playoff contender this year, and they added the number 3 pick in the draft, who's 6'3", can shoot, and's got a 40-inch vertical. Like, where they end up in the West, because to me, the West is congested. Like, I don't think any of those teams that were in that playoff zone or below that, none of you are promised the playoffs next year. I think Denver's promised the playoffs. I think that Minnesota is promised the playoffs. After that, you're kind of looking around. Oklahoma City definitely is a team that I think is promised the playoffs. I think it can get
Denver,
wonky
Minnesota,
for just
OKC,
about everybody. In Dallas. It can get wonky for everybody else below the top 4.
I think now, I agree with you, it can get wonky, but I think that next tier for me, I think Memphis is coming back. Mm-hmm. I do think Memphis is coming back with a healthy Ja Morant, and I'm hoping a more focused Ja Morant. There's nothing to say about the Clippers. Who knows what that roster is going to look like? I am very, very curious about the Lakers. What's the sustainability here? LeBron James continues to impress us in terms of what he still has in the tank. And again, game 1, so I'm not going to get too crazy in game 1, whether it's a win or a loss. But Anthony Davis, as we talked about, monster numbers last night. And if the JJ Redick of TV is in the same body as the JJ Redick head coach, it should equal a much better year for Anthony Davis as a focal point of that offense, on both of the offense and that defense, quite frankly. So I think I'd probably put the Lakers in that next tier. And then I guess I'm with you on the Rockets. His personal life story be what it may, I still think Ime Udoka is a great coach. And I think he's good for young guys that want to get after it. Or what's my point guard that is now in Houston, Van Vliet? Like, the grittier guys that, you know what I mean? Like, I still think that he's got the sauce in terms of moving a young team. Yeah,
what you're not going to be with Ime is some suckers. That seems to be like a key component of who he is, and what you're going to be if you rolling with him is, well, we're not about to be as a bunch of suckers. We're going to go hard,
and you know what,
right?
Bro? In that second tier, and this might be too optimistic, I still wonder, the window's almost closed for me on this particular squad, but I still wonder if there's a corner for New Orleans to turn.
Yeah. I mean, the corner is Zion Williamson finally taking this seriously, right? And I think he rock bottomed, and it looked like it at the end of last year, and then he got hurt, in that play-in game. But him recognizing like, hey man, your entire reputation as a basketball player and quite honestly as a man is on the line in front of everybody at this point in your career. Can you hold this down? Now, I want to say this though about the Lakers. I think it can still get wonky for them because I think somebody LeBron's age, we cannot count on any number of games whatsoever, right? Like you can go back to that year where he broke the scoring record, and then couldn't play for 2.5 weeks because that's what happens sometimes when you're old. You just can't keep going with that. In the end of that year, he was a warrior going through it, but he was so hurt in those playoffs, right? Hitting the ground multiple times where we're like, oh, there's the end.
So let me just submit this to you because you've been doing this a long time. You mean to tell me all those savvy beings in the Laker organization, if they really believe that they have a shot to do whatever, they're not going to figure out a way to make sure that LeBron, the best version of LeBron, is available at the right time?
Oh, don't get me wrong. They will do the best that they absolutely can. All I'm saying is at that age, no matter who it is, it can get wonky. And we know with Anthony Davis, it can get wonky. That's my only concern for them is you cannot trust the health of the two guys that they have up top. And look, it's amazing that LeBron can play at all. So this isn't shade. Like the fact that he gets on the floor and let alone plays at a top 10 level is incredible. But we've seen it in football with Aaron Rodgers, man. When these dudes get old, they still get old.
Insert Bronny. Woo!
I'm allowing everyone to bask in the television moment that they had on Tuesday night. And because I was with you that night. I was with you tonight. I sent them tweets out about Bronny and the world was heated with your boy. And we had dinner that night. I completely forgot about that until now. It was a lot going on, but good that everybody got the moment that they wanted.
Yes, I agree with you on that. And now we'll see.
Yay. There we go. We will see. We will see. What you think about the Warriors this year, though? Because I got to be careful with what I say about Steph, because anytime I say anything underestimating Steph, that guarantees they win a championship. He'd just be wiping his ass with whatever negative I got to say about him. But that's another one where I feel like we're betting on somebody that's got a lot of miles on him. And I thought the version of Steph we saw last year was a lesser version of Steph than we had seen previous.
The difference, I think, slight difference, right, in the conversation of maybe Steph versus LeBron is how he plays.
Yeah.
I think, and both of them have been praised a ton throughout their careers, and rightfully so, as tremendous leaders. I don't know that I am ever really concerned about Steph as much as I am what all is going on around them. Like last year was full of so many distractions. And granted, that team was not great, right? Like they were not poised to repeat anything. But I do think that he's a guy that's made it very clear that he needs everything pulling in the same direction. And so, Kuminga, there's a bunch of young guys out there. I'm blanking on their names right now that they're really excited about. Pajemski, like all those guys. Can they be formidable? Can they shake something up? We put up numbers that we still appreciate from Steph? Sure. Do I buy them as contenders or any of the sort? No.
Yeah, and I wonder with that, if you have Steph, what is it trotting out a team that's not a contender? Like they tried to hold together the core so long, they tried to do the 2 timeline thing that I said at the time. You just can't play for now and then. You can have some now guys that'll also be then guys, but you can't try to do both of those things at once. And so I wonder how this goes this year. Like if they are looking like a true middle of the pack team that doesn't really have a chance to make it happen, what do you do with your roster? What moves do you make? They tried to get Paul George in the offseason, for example.
The organization and Steph are hand in hand, right? Like we never question him as a competitor. Like I still think they go out there, they do the best to win games. But the idea that you have a window of 10 years to try to win championships is crazy. And they know that, right? But you're not going to move Steph, right? As long as he wants to be a warrior, he's going to be a warrior. And the rest of it is like now, I say this respectfully because he's not quite there yet, but he moves into like Vince Carter role eventually. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm always going to be a part of this franchise, but I understand that I can help these young guys grow and compete at the level that they're at right now. And if he decides to move into the front office at some point, right, like then we'll circle back. But every organization the window for championships is not infinite. It's finite. It's cyclical. You're going to be up, and then you're going to be back on the bottom in the lottery. Like, that's just how it goes.
Are we forgetting about the Phoenix Suns this year? Because I completely forgot them when we were running through teams. I didn't even mention them when we were running through teams. Like, it's still Kevin Durant. It's still Devin Booker. On a level that feels like a championship contender, it still doesn't feel like they have the requisite depth. But it does. I find myself when I start talking about the West, like I said, I just did it and completely skipped over.
They sent Jones out there, right? One of the Jones brothers at point guard.
Tyus.
I liked that a lot. I don't think that they have not given us enough to remember. So no, I don't think it's on us. We could all be surprised, but like they haven't given us enough to remember. That has been a hot mess. Like a hot mess. And I think, and here's the thing too, KD still can put up crazy numbers. Book can still put up crazy numbers. But every time we talk about champions, it's not just about individuals being able to put up crazy numbers. There's always a conversation of the glue guy and the unheralded guy. And this guy did this in the post. Like, you got 2.5, because I respect what Brad Beal has been able to do, but health has been a huge issue for him. But you got 2.5 all-star caliber NBA kind of stars. That's fine, and that's beautiful. But again, if we go to Boston, how many other guys for Boston are like you don't think of in that upper echelon, except now that they've won a championship? I don't know about these pieces surrounding those two, because in and of themselves, Book and KD, like, and whatever.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Like, you from Maryland, you from the area, so I was curious how it was that you felt about Brad Beal.
Don't never do that again. I don't know what that was, bro.
I'm just saying. But but Brad Beal is one of those that honestly I don't think the Brad Beal of 5 years ago was not the Brad Beal of, like, I feel like there's been a decline there that we don't discuss because he played for one of those teams that we don't watch when they're sorry.
That's exactly it. And I so enjoyed watching Brad coming to the league. The Brad and John Wall tandem that was hot for about 3 years. Poor things got like crazy. Like, it was fun. He said all the right things, hit the right notes with the media. He was in the community sincerely. And I don't think these things were just this idea of building a brand. I think he's very sincere about that, right? He's grown as a man, father, husband, all these things. Fantastic. The basketball has been trending the other direction. And that's hard to say, but that's just the reality. So to me, in fact, the basketball trending the other direction is part of the reason why this trade was sort of feasible. Because the Brad that eventually took the helm from John Wall needs the basketball and doesn't play alongside KD and Devin Booker. And so this fit is still being worked out in real time. Now, to me, and we've heard various coaches say it, put KD on the floor, any roster, he's gonna figure it out. He's just that kind of hooper. But that requires everything else around you to be clicking at a high level. And as much as you're going to point to those guys because their names are in the marquee, if you really dig into what Phoenix has had to deal with the last couple of seasons, it's not working top to bottom, not just because of your stars.
They got a Hall of Fame level regular season coach who is a questionable postseason coach, championship notwithstanding. That, to me, I think is going to be interesting, that they might be capable of putting up a big regular season win number, because Budenholzer puts up big regular season win numbers, and then it gets to the postseason, and we ask a lot of questions about what's going on with that guy.
I mean, and even like, okay, so whether you still think you're chasing Denver's model or now we're chasing Boston's model, they could give you 4 out for sure, right, Phoenix? But what happened in last year's postseason? Coaching aside, but just personnel in terms of matchups. They weren't built. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, Anthony Davis sort of bust into all of our living rooms Anthony Edwards, excuse me, burst into all of our living rooms in a real way in the postseason. But that's what you're going up against in the West more times than not. I still have mad respect for those dudes. Still think KD, easy money sniper, like great scorer, great player in our league. There's so many things that have to go right. And at this point, in a year where we're going into year 7 of 6 different NBA champions and parity and all of this stuff, like, it's more than just your stars having to be right.
That is Monica McNutt. Check her out on MSG. Check her out on ESPN. Just check out everywhere. Monica kind of hard to avoid this time of year in the best way possible.
I be bopping around. I be trying to work.
You be making it happen. You be trying to work. You the in living color sketch. You got all the jobs.
All the jobs. Oh, what a great show. Thanks for having me, Bo.
All right, I appreciate you. Sean, you got prize picks for the people?
I sure do, Bo. We got basketball and the NFL back. So let's start Wednesday. Today we got some hoops. Stephen Curry, 4.5 3-pointers. I'll take more there. Dylan Brooks, 0.5 steals. He's bound to get a steal against the Charlotte Hornets. Jalen Green, 21 points. We'll take more there. And Thursday Night Football, some easy wins, I think. Kyron Williams, 0.5 rush reception touchdowns in the Rams versus Vikings matchup. And their kicker, Will Reichard, 1.5 field goals made. We'll take more than 1.5 for that one.
There we go. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. That's Sean Yu. He handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.